What's up, everybody? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, October 9th, 2018. I hope you're doing well. I'm gonna really get right into this video. So if you're one of those beautiful replay viewers out there, I'm gonna jump right into this video and we're gonna be talking about the downside. So just a couple of things first. If you're watching this video and you support conservative approach to the market, and you are also in search of conservative wisdom in the markets, please, I need your support in this video because you know a lot of people are not going to like this, that I'm talking about the downside. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit that like button for me so that we can really set a nice foundation to this video, because we are talking about the downside, because this is something I do every day. I think about the downside. I chart for the downside. I just don't talk about a lot because it's not very popular, right? It's definitely not the way to get subscribers, and it's not the way to get likes, but it is important. And you know, I would be doing this channel a disservice if I didn't talk about it. So let's start with this poll that I posted on Twitter, and then what we will do is we'll look at the charts and we'll actually see a possible setup for a continued downtrend, because it's there and it's definitely smart to be ready for it. So I just tweeted, like, I don't know, a half hour ago. This hasn't been out there very long. I said, are you ready for a 45% drop in the market if it were to happen? So we have, it's like 50-50 right now. We already have 170 people who voted. It's like 50-50. So apparently there are some people that are not ready for the market to go down. So, and I do see that question. I'm not going to talk too much in the chat, but I see Kylo Tango asking about token pay. And yes, I've been trying to think of videos to do for token pay, and I have them in my mind. I just haven't gotten around to doing them. I promise we'll start covering token pay on the channel. So continuing on, 50-50, 50% apparently are not ready for a 45% drop. If you've been watching my channel, you know I'm all about preparing for the dips, right? So let's look at Bitcoin first, and then we're going to talk about Litecoin. So for Litecoin, we're talking like $30-some Litecoin. And for Bitcoin, this is kind of what I'm tracking. This is on the downside, and we've talked about this before, but this is a little bit of a different take on it. On the downside, where might we find ourselves for a bottom? And I just want to throw this out there before we talk about these numbers. This for me is, and I've talked about this for months, these numbers are my heavy accumulation area. So if we actually do go down in this territory, for me, I am just like, first off, incredibly impressed that we actually went this low. But second of all, I'm heavily buying probably at this point. And that's not financial advice, that's just what I'm doing. So I liken it to the final dip where we found our bottom in the bear markets years ago, right? In 2014 to 2015. And you can see this final dip. We kind of saw resistance at this 50 EMA on the weekly chart, okay? And then we got a dip that really led us to the ultimate bottom from this area. And it was a pretty, if you look at where it actually wicked down to in that week, 60% loss on the downside. But if you look at where it actually closed, it's around 45%. And that's an interesting number to look at, considering after it saw resistance off of the 50 EMA on the weekly, where we actually went down to. We went down around 45% to find the bottom ultimately in Bitcoin. Now, one thing that I want to just liken that move to is we kind of came down and it brought us, you can see this 200 EMA right here, right? And it hasn't formed on this chart, but the 200 EMA was right around here. So Bitcoin actually really came down to that area. And right now, if you look at where we are in Bitcoin, you can see the 200 EMA is down here, right? And so let's look at some things. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit on the charts, and let's start on the Bitcoin daily chart, because there's that triangle, symmetrical triangle that we've been talking about in our technical analysis videos. And you see right here is the length of the length of the triangle, the top to the bottom right here, right? And this would be if we broke below the bottom trend line, and it's a pretty strong trend line. If we broke down through the bottom, this would be the target price for Bitcoin. which is around $3,600, right? So we can take our price range from where we are, and we can actually see that it's 45%. Interestingly enough, from where we're trading right now, it's 35%, right to around a $3,500 Bitcoin. So let's take that number back to the weekly chart and just let's look at that. 45% down brings us, and I have to open this up a little bit, hold on. Okay. So 45% brings us right to this black line, $3,500, and you can see we're basically right around that 200 EMA as well. And we can again liken it to the 45% dip that we got after seeing resistance off the 50 EMA last time, to bring us down to the actual bottom for Bitcoin. So really interesting to actually see the similarities in terms of a final dip possibly for Bitcoin. And it is a true possibility. I mean, at this point, it's up in the air. It's 50-50. Anything can happen. And so I posed the question on Twitter, are you ready for a 45% dip? Mainly because it's well within the technical analysis on the daily chart of breaking through the bottom of this symmetrical triangle, right? So it's a good target, 45%. And it's also a great target for a bottom when you liken it to the long-term trend of Bitcoin. If you zoom out on the weekly chart, $3,600 bottom for Bitcoin is an extremely synergistic area in terms of the charts and the move and the momentum of Bitcoin, right? And for me, it's an extremely heavy buy zone. So I wanted to talk about that. Now, for Litecoin, interestingly enough, it has awesome synergy with that whole context of the 45% deal, right? And so Litecoin, if you look back at this triangle that we actually tracked, and I remember tracking this triangle like a lot back in February to spring area, and we were really hoping for a break up through the triangle to get this continued awesome uptrend in Litecoin. Now, if you remember, we didn't. We got to break down the bottom of the triangle. And interestingly enough, it happened 76% to the apex of this triangle. And we retested this bottom trend line, and ultimately we failed. So the target for this is basically the width from the bottom to the top, right? That's the target area, whether on the upside or downside from the break down. And here's our target for this long-term symmetrical triangle that we actually broke through officially in the beginning of this summer. So the length of that area from where we are right now, and you can kind of take it, we're on the daily chart. So the length down to the bottom of that target area is just at 45%. So the 45% number, I mean, I use that number in this video for a reason, because that 45% number, I think in the worst case scenario on the downside it truly works into technical analysis in really long-term patterns that we've been talking about anyway. And so that would be for Litecoin around a little bit over $30, so $31 to $33 Litecoin. That would be the target on that worst case scenario downside for Bitcoin and Litecoin. So I wanted to just kind of talk about that. Now going back to, and I'm looking, it looks like the quality on the video is kind of lagging. I don't know why that happens. I really don't. So that would be a $3,600 Bitcoin, and then we have a $31 Litecoin. That's a 45% downtrend. The question is, are you ready for something like that? It's not that I'm looking for it to happen. I'm just anticipating that it very well could happen, and I just want to be ready for it. That's my heavy buy zone, and I think it's extremely important to be ready for the downside. You all know that I'm bullish. I purposely wore this bullish shirt in this video because I don't want anybody that kind of comes across this video to think that I'm bearish and I'm talking about the downside. However, I think utilizing that wisdom is extremely important when trading. And for really added context to that wisdom, we can go to the weekly chart, right? And we can look at this. So we're talking about this possible move in Bitcoin. right? We're talking about this possible move in Bitcoin, similar to the move that we had right here. The resistance off of the 50 EMA and then down 45% to form the final bottom around that 200 EMA. So same thing. We have this resistance off the 50 EMA, comes down, forms a final bottom for Bitcoin around 200 EMA, and then we're off to the races long term, right? So I'm obviously long term bullish. Now, I just want to point something out to you. This plays into the story of capitulation. It plays into the story of many, many people abandoning ship, finally getting shaken out when we do come down here. If it happens, I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying if it happens, many people will abandon ship. And a perfect illustration of this is that's what happened back here. There was some capitulation right here. At the end of that bear market, people were selling and getting out, and they should have been buying. And similarly, people should be buying, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, in this area. If we come down here, it's a great opportunity to buy the fear. And just for a real true illustration, right here at the bottom of Bitcoin, where it would have been great to accumulate, what you have is this Reddit post. Really, really an example, a reflection of many people in the market. This person posted, this was a year ago, but they posted some historical evidence of what they did. They said, I sold 7.5 Bitcoin in January of 2015 for around $2,000 because I thought it was a scam. They'd be worth about $37,500 today. So he posted this around a year ago, but he's basically saying he sold 7.5 Bitcoin literally right here in January. He sold it there. He thought it was a scam. And that is when he probably should have been buying 7.5 more Bitcoin as opposed to selling it. And, you know, maybe we are in a very similar situation where we get a dip, we get a final dip, a final capitulation phase, right? And people are fearful and people kind of just sell because they think it's a scam and they think it was just a bubble that burst up here and then they sell here, right down here in the 200 EMA, when Bitcoin is not doing anything other than consolidating, then finding its footing so that it can continue this long-term uptrend in these markets of crazy cryptocurrency. So really, I think just a really huge opportunity for all of us if we do see any type of continued dip in the markets. I don't know if it will happen. Truly, if it does happen, you can see on the charts that it's not going to look like anything out of the ordinary, right? So just for an idea, if you see Bitcoin and we kind of start trading and we come down, maybe even some capitulation, we come down to this area and then we trade sideways a little bit and then we actually, you know, start kind of making our way back up. That does not look anything out of the ordinary for the move long term of Bitcoin. So to me, if we made it down to this area and we did see a 45% pullback for Bitcoin right down there, maybe not even 45%, maybe 30%, right? If we saw that, it's just a massive opportunity for so many people that maybe have gotten in late to the game, right? And they want to be part of that next bull run. They want to be a part of the markets and the success of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. It could be a great opportunity for many people to enter their positions. And same thing with Litecoin. If Litecoin gets that similar 45% dip, or you know, even maybe 30% dip up to the $40 range or something, we will not only be hitting targets from a technical analysis standpoint, but we'll also be hitting targets for bottoms, and we'll be hitting targets for really just solid, amazing buy zones that I've been talking about for a while on this channel. So time will tell. I just really wanted to point it out. I wanted to talk about it in this quick video because, you know, I posed a question on Twitter, and right now you can see we've gotten some more votes in since we started the video. We have, and it's not loading. There we go. So 212 votes. And it's 50-50. It's exactly 50-50. That's pretty crazy. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're a replay viewer, if you're here in the live chats, I appreciate you coming by. I mean, right now we're talking 6 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday, and Poseidon Lou, the 6 o'clock super chat coming through. Thanks, Poseidon Lou. You're the man. Appreciate it. Poseidon Lou, I was sharing some of his videos today on some ridiculous work that he does, so it was pretty cool. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate it. And yes, Dan Best said, hammer the likes, because this is a bearish video, right? We're talking about 45% downside possibly in the markets. If we hit a similar type of pattern that we had in that bear market for that final phase of capitulation, it could be so much similar coming back to that 200 EMA for the final bounce. That's what we're talking about. And I need your likes, everybody. I really do. Because you know the haters are going to come out and be like, oh my goodness, you're such a bearish YouTuber. But really, if anything, I do these downside videos because I'm extremely bullish, and I would love to accumulate down there if it happened. So appreciate anybody that is hitting that like button right now. After, maybe later or something, I did just post another video, which was Bitcoin implosion or explosion coming. Just evaluating a couple different articles that were out talking about the markets, and really it exemplifies perfectly how split everybody is right now in their opinions of the markets. But did that video, and then what's funny is Tyler S. did a video, like he uploaded just right before mine, talking about Bitcoin possibly exploding. A little bit different context, but still a great video, so go check out his video and give him a subscribe if you do venture over there. But that's it, everybody. Be ready for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it 100% could happen. It really is a 50-50 chance, and it's almost 50-50, exactly like this poll that we just took, asking if you're ready for a 45% drop. If you're one of the people that's not ready, then just get ready. And all you have to do is get ready is evaluate your risk tolerance, look at your portfolio, and just look at your position and see if you're comfortable or not. And if you're not comfortable, then maybe change some things up. But it really is that extreme contrast analysis. It's looking at those extreme sides, right? The extreme side for me is right around that $3,500 mark. It's that massive pullback, and that's an extreme contrast analysis, and that's what helps me make my decisions. And then same thing on the upside. If we go up, right, we hit $20,000 and too much. That's extreme. That's an extreme contrast analysis, but am I ready for that to happen? If I'm ready for both scenarios, then I'm good. I can sleep at night, and I think the same would be for you. But I appreciate it. 6 o'clock, weird time on a Tuesday live stream. It was fun, but wanted to get this video out to all of you. Appreciate everybody who came by today. If you're a replay viewer and you're still here, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the 45% downside is possible for Bitcoin and Litecoin? Let me know. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the night. Thank you so much for coming by. I will see you in the next video, and God bless.